North Korea says it will launch a satellite into orbit this month, but experts see this as a warning that the regime will test launch a long-range ballistic missile. Despite the freezing weather in North Korea, people of all ages, including the elderly, are forced to work through the cold. We bring you a special report. And with Iran now free of Western sanctions, Korean companies are quickly moving into the market. Appliance makers are especially keen to impress consumers. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Wednesday, February 3rd. I'm Luke Clary. North Korea has notified the International Maritime Organization that it will be launching a satellite into orbit between February 8th and 25th. Many experts instead see this as a warning that the regime will in fact be test launching a long-range ballistic missile. Here's more.
The International Maritime Organization's Maritime Safety Committee reported that North Korea notified the London-based agency of its plan to launch a satellite. The launch date would be between February 8th and 25th, and the time between 7 in the morning and noon Pyongyang Standard Time. The advance notice was given in accordance with an IMO regulation, which requires prior notification to prevent rocket debris from falling on a ship sailing in the vicinity. The International Telecommunication Union, or ITU, headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, also received North Korea's notification of its satellite launch plan. Pyongyang reportedly stated that the satellite is for Earth monitoring purposes and will be kept in orbit for 4 years. The ITU announced that it had judged the information provided by Pyongyang insufficient and requested the regime for additional info. North Korea had given a prior notice of its satellite launch plan to the ITU ahead of its de facto long-range ballistic missile test in 2012. Foreign journalists believe that North Korea's recent notifications are in effect announcements of its long-range ballistic missile launch.
Despite Pyongyang's claim that it will launch a satellite, Seoul believes this to be a preliminary step toward launching a long-range missile. The South Korean government and military are closely monitoring the situation against additional provocations from North Korea, especially in the wake of the recent nuclear test.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs convened an emergency meeting on Tuesday evening, presided over by the minister, to discuss measures against Pyongyang's launch of a long-range missile. A foreign ministry official said that the ministry, along with nations involved and international organizations, has been closely watching when Pyongyang will officially announce its missile launch. He added that the government is doing its best to prepare for additional provocations. The presidential office also said that it is taking all necessary measures to respond to Pyongyang's actions. The military announced that it has been on high alert and is closely watching developments in North Korea through intelligence assets. As in 2009 and 2012, North Korea is claiming a satellite launch, but the South Korean government and the international community believe that the actions constitute a long-range missile test in violation of the UN Security Council resolution. If Pyongyang makes additional provocations in the form of a missile launch following its fourth nuclear test, the UN Security Council's discussions of additional sanctions against North Korea will likely enter an escalated phase.
A U.S. think tank called the Institute for Science and International Security has revealed analysis of satellite imagery taken on January 25th, showing construction of a new nuclear fuel processing facility in North Korea. The Institute said that external construction signatures are observed at the new facility located southwest of the Yeonbyung nuclear complex. It said the precise purpose of the site remains unknown, but that the signatures are consistent with an isotope separation facility, including the separation of tritium. North Korea has launched 5 long-range missiles since its first, the Taepodong-1, was tested in 1998. Here's a quick recap of North Korean missile launches so far.
It was back on August 31st, 1998, when North Korea first launched a long-range missile.
대포동 1호로 추정되는 미사일 한 발을 시험 발사했다.
Launched from Musudanri, North Hamgyong Province, in northeastern North Korea, the Taepodong-1 passed over the Japanese islands and flew around 1,600 kilometers before falling on the Pacific Ocean. Then in July 2006, the regime sent up the Taepodong-2, but the second North Korean long-range missile blew up in the air. North Korea's third long-range missile, launched in April of 2009, flew some 3,800 kilometers, passing Japan and headed toward the United States. The fourth North Korean long-range missile, the Unha-3, was launched in April 2012, but it again exploded in midair. 8 months later, in December 2012, the North again sent up the second Unha-3, its fifth long-range missile, and claimed to have put a satellite in orbit. Then just last month, North Korea conducted its fourth nuclear test and announced that it had successfully tested a hydrogen bomb. Though global experts have largely concluded that the hydrogen bomb had been a failure, North Korea is now getting ready to provoke the international community with its sixth long-range missile launch.
Despite the freezing weather in North Korea, people of all ages are forced to work there, including the elderly. Our next report is about North Koreans who transport fertilizers through the middle of the night by torchlight.
It's late at night at this collective farm in North Korea. Workers are busy unloading fertilizer from a tractor and moving it onto carriers. These people, working in the dark hours despite the freezing weather with torchlights in their hands, are parents of children who are serving in the military.
두벌농사에서도 대승전구를 올리는데 한몫 단단히 하자고 말입니다. 이렇게 하는 것이 서서에선 사랑하는 두 아들 앞에 떳떳이 사는 길이 아니겠습니까?
Parents of soldiers are deployed to transport fertilizer under the pretext of supporting their children from behind the lines. At another farm lit by torches and car headlights, workers shovel and transport fertilizer.
밤 대기 온도는 영하 20도씨 이하로 내리지만 이들은 혼신의 진한땀을 흘리며 달리고 또 달리고 있습니다.
In the face of strong criticism from the international community for its nuclear test, North Korea has been emphasizing self-reliance for days, forcing its people to provide primitive labor regardless of age.
Korean companies are moving quickly to enter the Iranian market, which was only recently released from Western economic sanctions. Korean household appliance makers are especially keen to impress Iranian consumers. Here's more.
Thinner TVs with clearer pictures and refrigerators featuring assorted IT functions, and a washer capable of simultaneously running two different kinds of wash. A Korean household appliance maker's new models capture the eyes and interests of Middle Eastern consumers. A large number of local buyers have been invited to this event, organized by the Korean firm in an effort to take a bigger share of the Iranian market, which has been recently freed from many Western economic sanctions.
Always the newest product come to the market by new technology. That's why the Iranian people really like it and accept it.
Recently, LG Electronics started a feasibility review at the Iranian government's request to expand the manufacturer's local assembly plant. Samsung Electronics also began hiring new workers to intensify its marketing activities in the Iranian market. The market share of Korean household appliance makers in Iran is 70%. But the Korean firms will inevitably face fierce competition from Chinese and European counterparts over the lucrative market. To get ahead of the curve, Korean companies are hurrying to meet rising demands in industrial machinery and IT goods and services in Iran.
In our feel-good story of the day, a man who collapsed on a subway platform was saved by a fast-acting station worker who rushed to his aid with CPR. Take a look.
A passenger sitting on a bench on a subway platform suddenly collapses onto the floor. After the initial confusion, a woman nearby rushes to request assistance using an emergency phone. A few moments later, a subway worker arrives at the scene and after checking the collapsed man's condition, begins to perform chest compressions. After 5 minutes of CPR, The man was rushed to the hospital and his life was saved. The station worker who rescued the passenger is Lee Jong-jin, the vice director of Sangsu Station in Seoul. It was his first time performing CPR on an actual patient, but he was able to act instinctively thanks to first aid training that he received a year ago.
배운 게 있어서 그런지 배운 거대로 일단 최대한 노력을 해가지고 이제 했습니다.
The critical time for raising the survival rate for people who lose consciousness due to a heart attack is 5 minutes. Basic first aid skills can save lives in emergency situations.
In a first for the country, an auction was held to showcase the works of art school graduates and prospective artists to lead the future of the Korean art scene. Take a look at their brilliant creative work.
Shrek is a famed Hollywood animation character. This unique piece is made with a large number of cigarette butts gathered from the streets. This also looks familiar. It combines a painting by late Joseon Dynasty genre painter Shin Yun-bok and modern pop art. The idea is brilliant. All these works showcasing creative imagination and unique motifs are the brainchildren of aspiring artists who are just out of fine arts colleges.
굉장히 창의적이에요. 제 눈에는 굉장히 개성 있고 창의적으로 보여요.
Some 100 of their works have been put up for auction for the very first time in Korea. The starting price is around $830. The students are no big-name artists, but the auction heats up.
진짜 좋아요. 엄청 좋아요. 이제 졸업생들한테는 이런 기회가 흔치 않으니까.
All 100 works were sold with 100% successful bids. Total revenue came in at over $110,000. All the profits will be donated to art universities as scholarship funds.
There are many theater plays out there nowadays with a production value on par with major motion pictures. Today, we introduce a number of stage plays that have gained renewed competitiveness.
The film Memories of Murder was based on the true story of a serial murder case that took place in Hwaseong, Gyeonggi Province. But before the movie came along, there was first a quality stage play. The detectives are desperate to catch the killer. A thrilling battle of wits unfolds between them and the suspect. This critically acclaimed play, based on a real-life event, has marked its 20th anniversary. Let the Right One In, a story about a vampire's love and loneliness, has been turned into a play based on the movie. A birch tree forest is covered in snow as if in a scene from a fairy tale.
난 아무것도 아니야.
The story reaches a turning point when the vampire's cruel nature is revealed. Helmed by English theater director John Tiffany, the play offers a fascinating portrayal of a human befriending a vampire.
Beautiful, real silver birch trees. I see this story as a contemporary fairy tale.
Stage plays offer a vividness that comes from seeing the action firsthand instead of on a flat screen, setting them apart from cinema.
The Lunar New Year holiday is just a week away. In addition to family reunions and celebrations, for some people this also means some extra spending on ancestral worship rituals. Here are some cost-effective tips on how to best prepare your ancestral worship ritual this year. In just 1 week, Koreans will celebrate one of the biggest national holidays, the Lunar New Year. That's why many families are already busy preparing for ancestral worship rituals held on the Lunar New Years. We decided to get an expert's help to find out when is the best time to buy groceries for the ritual. Buy items that can be stored for a long time 1 week before the holiday. They include dried pollock, dried persimmons, jujubes, and chestnuts. You can also buy fish that can be stored frozen a week in advance. Here's how to choose good quality fish.
눈이 일단은 선명해야 되겠고요. 몸통을 보았을 때는 몸통에 비늘이 빠졌다든가 아니면 껍질이 벗겨지지 않은 것이 좋고요. 전체적인 느낌이 탄력이 있어 보이는 것이 좋겠습니다.
Buy traditional desserts and spices that are easy to overlook 5 days before the holiday. Also make sure to prepare newly harvested rice. 3 days before the ritual, buy fruits and keep them refrigerated.
배를 고르실 때는 일단 원형을 잘 이루고 있어야 되고요. 겉표면에 상처가 없고 얇아 보이는 것이 수분이 많고 연한 배를 고르실 수가 있겠습니다. 사과는요, 겉표면이 거칠어 보이고 윤기가 없는 것이 육질이 단단하고 당도가 높은 사과라고 할 수가 있겠습니다.
The day before the ritual, it's time to buy meat, tofu, and herbs, which should remain fresh until the holiday. When buying meat, pay attention to the color and amount of fat. The less fat, the better. Fresh, good quality meat shouldn't be too bloody. Trim the ingredients right away and store them well to preserve their freshness. Soak bracken in water one day in advance before boiling it.
고사리에는 특유의 냄새가 있는데요. 끓는 물에다가 식초를 한 방울 떨어뜨리고 그 다음에 고사리를 데쳐내면 그 특유의 냄새를 없앨 수 있습니다.
To enjoy the Lunar New Year's holiday with your family, make sure to prepare everything you'll need well in advance. And now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.